So, Pete, this passing game has been struggling a little bit of late, and last week's game was pretty bad against the Browns. Thankfully, Gus Edwards saved them, but Mark Andrews coming off a bad game. Lamar Jackson said that the Browns schemed to take him away, but Andrews missed 2 days of practice last week, short week this week against Tampa Bay on Thursday night on the road. Do we have to start to worry a little bit about where Lamar Jackson is as a passer and maybe even Mark Andrews as a receiver?
Start to. This passing game has been average for a long time. In fairness to Lamar Jackson, they don't always have great weapons on the outside, but yeah, you got to be worried about it. If you took away Mark Andrews from the middle of the field, it really does damage to this passing game. Absolutely should be worried about the Ravens passing game.
Is Lamar Jackson still a set it and forget it quarterback for you, knowing what the landscape of quarterbacks are, but clearly he has not had a 20-point game in a month?
Right. It's frustrating. There's nobody that I can, like, maybe if you had Tua and he's facing the Lions and you want to start him over Lamar Jackson, I could understand that. But the position's just been so absolutely terrible. He's still 6 points per game better than QB7. So you're starting Lamar Jackson, set it and forget it.
Is he going to break out this week against the Bucs, do you think?
If Mark Andrews is healthy, I'd feel a lot better about it. But Mark Andrews, couldn't hardly practice last week and not practicing on Tuesday. I don't feel very good about it this week. I'm
Short week too. I mean, it's tough.
As a Mark Andrews fantasy manager, you have him in 20 of your 23 leagues, I'm assuming.
Starting him in every one.
But are you making preparations just in case? You're going to just wait till Thursday and see what the injury report is?
If I can add drops on Thursday, I'm waiting until Thursday just in case, because I don't want to use another roster spot on a tight end if I have Mark Andrews.
And if there is no Andrews, and Bateman, we don't know what his status is. Devin Duvernay, DeMarcus Robinson, maybe we see Deshaun Jackson make his debut. What do we think of the receiving corps?
It's not good. Sure. I mean, it's bad. And they got to create ways to get those guys open. And usually Lamar Jackson does that, and so they're going to have to rely on him even more.
But does that now lean to a little bit more running and turning to Gus Edwards, who they finally found a guy that can get the job done?
If they watch the tape from last week, what Carolina did to that run defense, then, you should lean on the run game, including Gus Edwards, including Lamar Jackson, including anybody else who adds carries.
Okay, so this is the second time now that we've seen teams run on the Bucs. The first was the Chiefs. This was the second time. Akeem Hicks may return.
He's iffy.
But if he, with or without him, though, can they have success on the ground against this team? Do you think that this team with Gus Edwards will run on the Bucs?
Yes, particularly if Akeem Hicks is not there.
I would worry if there was no Bateman and there was no Andrews, and they just didn't really have to worry about the passing game, because I don't think the Tampa Bay defense.
But do you think teams really worry about Bateman?
I think they definitely worry about Mark Andrews.
Well, Andrews, yes,
everything they could, yeah.
All right, so you're not as high on Gus Edwards this week.
No, he's a high-end flex. I think the fact that he's getting a third of the team's rush attempts, some weeks that's going to mean 12 carries.
Some weeks that's going to mean 12 carries, but again, first game back, shake off the rust. If that's the shake off the rust, then we're getting a 20-carry game from him to maybe simplify things in the passing game. Could be a huge game for Gus Edwards. So,
what about Justice Hill? I thought he was going to take more of an
I thought somebody said that as well, that Justice Hill was going to take on more work, and Kenyon Drake was coming off a big game 2 weeks ago, but they seem to like Gus, and we seem to like Gus as well. Let's talk about the Packers passing game. So Alan Lazard was in a sling following the loss against the Commanders, third straight loss for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is complaining again, understandably so. Where are you at with the Packers passing game right now, especially if Lazard does not play against the Bills?
It's disgusting. I mean, that's the
it's even worse than the Ravens.
I mean, it is awful. It really is. And he's complaining about the receivers. The receivers aren't winning. They're running the wrong routes. That's quite obvious when you watch their tape. They've simplified things for him and for them, and it's not working. It's just a bad passing game right now. And by the way, the offensive line hasn't been great either.
Just go give up a first-round pick for DJ Moore. Just make things better. It's not going to get any better. Romeo Doubs is not going to figure things out, I don't think.
See, and that's the problem with him. It's not his ability. It's figuring things out.
Right. Well, and he's not like he's getting a support system around him. Like Aaron Rodgers isn't helping him that much.
It's bad. The only thing this week is if they get blown out, then they might get garbage. Think about what I was saying here.
Right.
If Rodgers, they might get blown out, they're going to get blown out.
They've got an implied total of 18.5. For an Aaron Rodgers offense, their Vegas implied total is 18.5 points. That's a Giants number.
I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is he done? Or no. This is everybody else? This is not on him?
No, he's part of the problem too. He absolutely part of the problem. He's missed guys too. So, but I get it. He's not done. No way. Zero way. You want to bury him. You want to bury him. Is Brady done?
I'm asking a question. I don't think Brady's done.
Is Russell Wilson done?
I think
no.
I think
I don't think any of them are done.
I think Brady's circumstances, you can point to the offensive line. Rodgers' circumstances, you can point to the receiving corps. Wilson might be done. we don't know.
Is his receiving corps that good?
Right now, no. His offensive line's not good either. But when you're missing, you see guys crossing right in front of the field. You don't see them. It's hard to say.
He's not seeing things at all. At least Rodgers and Brady are seeing things. They're getting hit. They're getting guys in their face, and the receivers are going the wrong way. you're right. Wilson's just missing stuff.
He's missing guys. All right. Well, speaking of Russell Wilson, so in terms of the Packers, there's not anybody you're starting aside from Aaron Jones, correct?
That is correct.
Yes, I would agree. In terms of Russell Wilson, so he was practicing on a limited basis on Wednesday, so trending in the right direction to play in the London game against the Broncos. And just a fascinating story. According to Zach Stevens, who covers the Broncos, Russell Wilson worked down stretch for 4 of the 8 hours on the flight from Denver to London. Said he was doing high knees in the aisle when the rest of the guys were asleep.
How does he know that? Was he on the plane?
Maybe.
Yeah.
You were a good reporter once upon a time.
Oh, I would have found that out. I would have made a big issue out of it, too. It just gets weirder by the day. I mean, it really does. The whole thing is weird. The whole season's been weird. Do you get the impression that anybody was that upset that he wasn't in the lineup last week?
I mean, the win-loss record and the score might say something, but
They weren't good before.
You'd like to think he would have had a little bit more of an impact.
I just don't see this team rallying around their quarterback. And you hear the stories out of Seattle. They didn't rally around the quarterback. They won, and he was there, and he was a part of it, but they didn't love him either. And it just gets weirder by the week. Okay, I understand you want to stay loose on a long flight. You can't tell me if he's going up and down the aisle doing high knees that every single player in that sitting there is going, what an idiot. Right? I mean, they're probably trying to sleep.
Yeah,
they're trying to sleep. Or someone playing cards and they got Russell Wilson going up and down the aisle with high knees. Come on.
Are we done with Russell Wilson as a fantasy quarterback?
Not for the whole year, I wouldn't say that.
You're still holding on hope?
Yeah, there is definitely hope that he might be 100% healthy at some point this year.
Are you starting this week against Jacksonville?
No.
They got a bye next week. Why would you roster him?
I'm not saying that you can't. No, I wouldn't even say that you have to hold on to him. You might drop him. I'm just saying I think there's a chance in the second half. The hamstring gets right, the shoulder gets right, and he has some good games in the second half.
If you're a player and you see that happening, do you sit there and you say, he's doing it all for show?
Of course.
Of course.
He was on a plane at night while everybody's sleeping. Who's he showing? There's no cameras.
Oh, he's doing it for show for his teammates.
This might have gotten out from his camp. This might have gotten out
for his teammates.
Yeah, right.
Come on. The teammates look at him and they go, what is he doing? Sit down. We're going to get there in a little bit.
Any Broncos player you're starting this week against Jacksonville?
No.
Not Cortland Sutton?
No, Greg Dulcich. I'll
Dulcich.
start him. Cortland Sutton is a boom-bust number 3 wide receiver.
Just make sure you're on the same plane I'm on when we go to the Super Bowl out in Phoenix, and I'm going to do high knees up and down the aisle.
I don't think they'll let you do that.
I hope you do. Oh, boy. All right, speaking of quarterbacks, the Patriots right now, well, you see, let's show you the receivers here for the Broncos. We're somewhat, I'm surprised Dave likes Jerry Jeudy as much as he does, but in any event, we're basically out in 2 receiver leagues.
Should the Broncos trade Jerry Jeudy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would the Cowboys be interested in Jerry Jeudy? Would you make a move if you're the Cowboys for Jerry Jeudy?
I would love to see Aaron Rodgers getting mad at Jerry Jeudy for dropping passes and doing the wrong thing. That would be a lot of fun.
That's part of the problem with Jerry Jeudy.
Right.
Yeah, they don't need another one like that.
All right, let's move on to the Patriots now. And the Patriots have Bill Belichick yet to name a starting quarterback. That's in Tuesday's press conference. Maybe by the time we get to the practice field on Wednesday, we find out who's taking the first team reps. But Pete, does it matter at this point? Is there one guy that you think is better than the other? And what would you do if you're Bill Belichick?
I would start Mac Jones.
Why?
Because he's better. Not marginally better, but he's better. I think when you look at Bailey Zappi, you are what you are. And, all the hype of coming off the bench and throwing those 2 touchdown passes and then in the second half became who he was. You can't hide from that. You are what you are. Look, Mac Jones isn't what a lot of people were portraying him as early last season when they said he was Tom Brady. Oh, we got the next Tom Brady. No. What you have is a serviceable quarterback. You don't have I don't think they're in good standing with either one of them, whoever their long-term answer would be. But I think I'd play Mac Jones.
In terms of the pass catchers, and I know really we're only going to say start Ramondre Stevenson, but if you are in a deeper league, 14-team league, 16-team league, Jacoby Myers has had some good moments, scored a touchdown last week from Bailey Zappi. Hunter Henry's been good with Bailey Zappi, but we've seen Devontae Parker have some good moments with both quarterbacks. Tyquan Thornton, same thing as well. Is there anybody that you lean one way or the other depending on who the quarterback is?
I think, despite the fact that Jacoby Myers scored that touchdown with Bailey Zappi, I think Mac Jones gets locked onto him a little bit more. You see more targets for Myers when Jones is the quarterback, so I would like Myers as more of a high-end number 3 wide receiver if Mac Jones is the quarterback.
They need to get Tyquan Thornton going in a big way. I know he had the 2 touchdowns, and players around that team were raving about him. Get him the ball. Whoever the quarterback is, get him the ball. He can fly. He's got a long stride. He scares teams down the field. They got to get him more involved.
All right, so we'll see what happens there in terms of how things operate for the Patriots. I expect to see a lot of running against the New York Jets and how Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris operate. Sam Ellinger taking over for Matt Ryan, and the report from The Athletic is that his scrambling ability will open up the offense. You don't buy it?
Well, it's a necessity with that offensive line. That's why he has to go in. I have a problem whenever an owner mandates that a quarterback needs to go in. This was mandated from above. This was not a coaching decision. They can talk all they want about it being a coaching decision. They're tired of having these stopgap quarterbacks. Was Matt Ryan bad? He wasn't good, but the offensive line has been horrible. So from that standpoint, it makes sense to get a runaround guy. But
A runaround guy.
well, that's what he is. He's a runaround quarterback. But it's interesting because he does have some arm talent. He can throw the football. I just don't know if he's ready to go in there and be a starting quarterback yet.
So before I ask him the fantasy analysis, who does his style of play benefit? Is it going to benefit Pittman? Is it going to benefit Campbell, Alec Pierce? None? All? How do you view it?
I think Pierce. He probably, even though Pierce was working with the ones early in the season, he probably spent a lot of time working with Pierce. So I would lean that way. And I think Pierce is starting to come on. So I would lean to Pierce.
Well, you say Pierce starting to come on. Paris Campbell's starting to come on the last 2 weeks, but that's
He's healthy.
a necessity of his targets. Now the ball was being distributed, Matt Ryan getting the ball out quick. How do you view the Colts receiving corps this week against the Commanders, which we have seen a lot of teams have success throwing on the Commanders, not named Aaron Rodgers?
It's a great matchup, but I think this is a downgrade for all of them because I think they're not going to throw as many passes. I can't imagine they're going to have Sam Ellinger throwing 40 passes a game, and even if he drops back 40 times a game, he's probably going to run 10 of those. So Pittman is a number 3 wide receiver. Pierce and Campbell are both kind of really hard to figure as boom-bust flex type options.
Where do you come out with the run game now? Because the offensive line has been bad for the rushing attack. Taylor last week was involved in the passing game. Again, run-around quarterback, sometimes that benefits the running back because the rushing lanes open up a little bit. Is this going to help Taylor or hurt Taylor?
It'll help. It should help. But the problem is those 2 inside guys on Washington are pretty good football players. So it might make it a problem. Their offensive line is still figuring out where they are. They move guys around every week. So they're figuring it all out. It'll help them though because the threat of him getting outside and running the ball will probably do some things to get creative with him.
And I would imagine they'll try and just slow the game down a little bit and run Taylor a little bit more to take some pressure off of the young quarterback. So you're clearly still starting Jonathan Taylor. You can get away from Nyheim Hines at this point until we see how everything works for this passing game.